Hello and welcome to the next episode of Have We Thought This Through? This one is about working towards better questions. In this first chunk, I'm just going to focus on this idea of our own personal questions. So not the questions that pertain to any particular project or role that we might be fulfilling, but our questions, the ones that are meaningful to us. I suppose what I'm proposing to you all is that it's good to be able to spend the time, a little bit like yoga, but this time for the mind, allowing ourselves a moment to think about our own questions. What are we about? What are we interested in? What is our curiosity scratching away at? So for me, for example, I've had this question about how technology can help connect humans, bring them together, get them into new and interesting kind of collaborative forms, how we can learn from each other, how we can express ourselves to each other utilising technology. That's the sort of technology I like. And so that's my big question. Whenever I'm looking at a technology, I wonder, can this technology help bring humans together in new and powerful ways? And, quite often it doesn't actually. When I was looking last year at the AI tools that were hitting the mainstream at the time, I had a sort of a queasy sense that what was happening was that these tools were going to actually be isolating in a way, and that I would do my AI thing with my AI tools, and you would do your AI thing over there, and then maybe you'd tell me how your experience was. It felt a little bit like, well, okay, my question about this kind of connectivity between humans at the moment is telling me no, there's work to be done. There are thoughts to be had. We've got to work this out, basically. And in various projects, that's been bubbling in the back of my mind. It's like, I wonder if here's an opportunity to work out how technology might be able to bring humans together. So I'm interested in how AI can help support teams in universities interact with students in really effective and interesting ways, right? That's what I want from my technology. That's what's on my mind. But here's the thing. My personal question doesn't necessarily need to be meaningful to you, and yours doesn't need to be to me. But the fact that we have found those questions and they kind of resonate for ourselves is really important, right? It's important that we've given ourselves the time to think about it. And I should just say, I'd love if anyone wants to share what some of their personal driving questions are here, then please do. I'd be fascinated to see, but obviously only if you're comfortable. The way in which we can use questions is extremely powerful. And one of the ways I think it can unlock stuff for us in the world is it can help us notice more things. Noticing things is really hard. In a world where we're basically bombarded with signal, being able to notice the right things for us in a focused way is a challenge, okay? So having a question that helps us notice things and decide quite quickly, that's a thing that deserves more of my attention. And then, actually, I'm going to focus and work on that, or we are going to, as a group or a team, work on that is really important. That going from invisible into noticing into attention into action is driven by questions, personal questions quite often. I'll only just lightly touch on this, but there's a great theory by Jacques Rancière, a French philosopher, that's around, it's called the distribution of the sensible, and it highlights this challenge around the fact that our social norms, our social constructs, our privilege, our sense of time and place in history makes it possible to only see certain things. Many things become invisible to us. And not only that, it stops us from asking questions. There are only certain questions that are validated, that are viable and acceptable to society. And we encounter this all the time. So again, I think there's something really important for us to do, spend the time to go, have we seen a question for us, whether or not society cares about that question, or whether society right now is willing to validate that question, whether our politics is aligned to that question. Maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe what matters is whether you feel there is a thread to be pulled. There's something to be understood. There's something that we need to know. I'm just going to end on a sort of slightly lighter note, which is that I went to see some writers who write crime fiction. You know, in hearing their kind of process, think about the way in which the writer manipulates the mind of the reader, in it shifting that person's perspective, opening up a new set of information, misdirection often, you know, in the case of the whodunit genre. But the key thing is that question, who's the murderer, for example, that doesn't want to stay the same all the way through that narrative. Questions evolving and allowing those questions to evolve. That it feels like that what we can do is, we know that we are in a complex society and that there are a set of constraints and that often we're being manipulated, but that we are in turn evolving our questioning apparatus. We are also fleet of foot, and we are trying to find questions that feed our curiosity, yes, and widen it, yes, but that also tell us something about what our purpose is, no matter our role, no matter our project, and that we are uncovering something through our life, or many somethings in fact. And that's the kind of personal question that I feel can be incredibly gratifying and useful. So thanks for coming along on this one with me a little bit. In the next video, I'm going to get really practical about how we can construct better questions and how we can think about the best possible answers to those questions. So thanks again. See you in the next one. Bye.